Just want one or two?
One, please. Thanks. All right, y'all ready?
Yeah, critique local control.
The counterplans on the top.
Yeah.
Ready? Once straight to attack, we always leave them the choice of they have to turn our battle against true search for the best policy, just like create multiple policies to ensure to find the best one. 3, increase the strategic thinking, multiple option course, both to make good tactical choices. Debate is best one as hard as 4, key to next flex without disbone, and can't read counterplans, critiques, and same doing, which is key to attack the act from multiple angles. 5, terms check explosion, they'll take 2 seconds to make a reciprocal counterplan. 6 is key to check theory, shoot shots without dispo, arguments like no figure, artificially inflated voting issue. 7, the status quo should always be elected officer and policymakers, which shouldn't be forced to make the status quo worse. The spending argument, the counterplan has no net spending effect, but has a net progressive effect. Biker and Gordon 6, SSH gender, average funds, 51 per capita, greater net education programs, increased education, is entirely offset by declines in other than soft-funding decline is progressive. 400 CZ, net increase will reduce all the rich decline in net asset fees do not affect the level and do increase the progressivity is total state aid to localities, and the plan is more expensive. Lends us 2 magnets for expensive Missouri absorbed by the federal court, spend over $3 billion, segregation, reaching expenditure unprecedented levels, and even if they don't finance their tax assessments, prove that they don't solve because they have no money, which exacerbates material inequality and links more to the impacts the money see, and the economy is resilient, no impact to decline. New statement 2 withstands out its resilience to the system, just as Christ nature, so as the capital, the economy had a big act, so waiting capital, series, main actions, always cross and bubbles, from growth and collapses, following one another along with growth and vitality, and recessions are self-correcting, economies diversified, well, technology, smartest, less than often more stable piece of recession, economy organized, self-organizing, resource to emerge, more efficient, productive labor, all the resources are free for use in the next wave of enterprises. The critique at the top is net benefit to the counterplan. When I see says that the problem is, our counterplan says the problem is that resource inequality, not the lack of white kids in the schools. The app is based on the idea that black kids need to sit next to white kids to learn. This is the only way to solve educational inequality. The counterplan will lead to voluntary forms of integration, but we don't say that integration is necessary, merely that people should in some circumstances have the choice. The app is premised on the need for integration, which proves that they in the permutation both like they say that assumes that this is the status quo, but the counterplan solves proves that we don't rely on the status quo. They say there's a difference between actual and cultural genocide. This tapes out the app, in fact, true, because there's a difference between the type of local control that leads to genocide and the type of local control that merely allows schools to determine how they allocate the resources. Also, it turns the one is the impact. It proves that they exacerbate the impact of racism. They're premised on the idea of inequality. Also, it links to the case. They deny the value of the communities of color. They say that it's key to solve racism. This evidence is based on the contact hypothesis, empirically false extent, or EPS evidence from the case. Desegregation empirically increases school violence. This evidence is actually based on studies, and even if the contact hypothesis is true, it depends on idealized conditions that can never actually materialize. Dixon and Durham for these contact hypothesis, civilized contact should be intimate, cooperative, promoting utilization, measure, and goals differ between equal status participant concrete everyday life. Really, of course, under ideal circumstances, the optimal contact is used primarily laboratory approximation, naturally occurring interactions, generally more infrequent, superficial sites, mark our long history of conflicts, difficult to manage, how quality steps might create a broad scale of consequences, and technical dynamics with social conscious approach may sustain a dangerous form of utopianism, and integration doesn't mean conflict. Students self-segregated. Pullian and Campbell, 3 studies, black white schools, following experience of students. One is the racial separation because the social activities and friendships numerically integrated schools are highly segregated by race. They say that they're key to change the curriculum. That's our well-ingrained evidence, but integration means assimilation, not a change to the curriculum. Well-ingrained 97 strategy must have recommendation change to prove their constituents. Their schools not affect the schools the concepts and suburbs. Black students would have to confirm the district by doing things from the academic standards. Disciplinary request that teaching styles and curriculum. Suburban schools are not going to accommodate the transfer students. The transfer students would have to accommodate the suburban schools, and integration doesn't change the curriculum. Bell for integration disproportionately burn black and white schools. Black children meant race hatred and curriculum blind to their needs. Black parents live far from the schools where children have no effective school possible opportunity to involve themselves in school life. They say that normal means it's not busing this. Our argument is not about the type, it's about the notion that we need desegregation at all, and desegregation is an attempt to assimilate black students into suburban schools regardless of the type. Walls and Crane 97, urban educators resist change prove their constituents inner city schools do not reflect suburban schools. Accommodate transfer students, they have to combine with school schools. The pressure on them to assimilate into suburban world. Suburban educators saw little no value black students. One principle is the main goal is to homogenize the population to make them fit better, and their statistical desegregation ignores the accomplishments of minority communities. Brown for the statistical depiction of community inequality is inevitably incomplete, does not document the success of individual or particular communities that broken down the barriers to educational quality more effectively in abstract cumulative or present numerical can also help to capture the intensity that only individual testimony can provide. And if they lead to magnet schools, that turns the case because they create a school within a school with no interaction or fields. In the United States, some magnet schools within school students, magnet programs have little or no contact with students in non-magnet program. We still have segregated schools, and magnets lead to more exclusive forms of segregation or fields. And even in 96, Latino African students complain about not having access to information, Magna program, one student said the Magna student was everything we get, nothing's not. One here is common, one students letting themselves as smart as recording their participation in the Magna seem to justify the segregation, inequality on the basis of talent. Next, NHCU offered a sharp critical view, restriction of what leaves the benefits of a very small group of students and excludes many more. The advantage. One and two, to extend the tracking argument, they lead to segregated schools within schools, even if they're outwardly desegregated. This is a net benefit to the counterplan because there's no need to wall off the people of color if the schools remain predominantly minority. They say that Magna School is not about the type of school that are schools within schools cards. They rather on the critique proves this extent one see for participatory democracy turns their local control because local control allows control by minority communities, which leads to more effective forms of social control. If the Civil Rights Act proved this evidence is comparative, it's more effective legal solutions. One and see five after the safety valve turns their war impact because they believe that they solve all racism in society, which allows us to ignore more subtle forms like the type that causes racism in foreign policy through our naive belief that we can just wish it away. 1 and C6, they reinforce racism. This is proven where assimilation has argument they portray minorities as deficient who are simply invading white social spaces. This is a net benefit to the counter plan. And 1C7, incrementalism. This is a proof of our safety valve argument. They are an only incremental change that ignores the vast majority of present society. 1C8 movements. They trade off with social movements, which are more critical to access integration. They also drop the private school flight argument, which means they do nothing because all of the white kids will simply move to private schools, and including suburbs doesn't solve white flight. Longer busing distances Russell to although metropolitan plans reduce what non-metropolitan plans, so the advantage not great, so the class to metropolitan so eliminate some, but not all the suburbs. White completed suburbs resist moving private schools. Metropolitan ones have a long bus distance, the greater pressure of white flight, and even successful integration causes private school flight, high school, or white high self even CSL well school to celebrate factor and integration continue by ruining their children.
How much time?
Hold on.